Good morning, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. All right, we've hit the midweek where we're looking at different animal passages in the Bible. It's a fun thing to do. And I thought today, can you hear the birds? Maybe you can't because the sound is not easy to pick up, but the birds are chirping. It's early morning. And if you've ever heard a turtle dove coos, it's kind of a, okay, well, that's not very good, but it sort of sounds like tor, or coo. And so the Hebrew word, kind of an onomatopoeia for a turtle dove, is tor, which is after the sound that it makes. And turtle doves are interesting in the Bible. One of the biggest interest points for me comes from the Old Testament book of Leviticus. In Leviticus chapter 5, it's talking about how people need to offer a sacrifice to God for their sin. Now, of course, as a Christian, we understand that the sacrifice of Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice for sin. It's not something we do anymore. We adhere to the sacrifice of Christ. But in the Old Testament days, God prescribed a sacrifice, and the sacrifice was supposed to be a lamb. But there's an interesting thing in Leviticus chapter 5. God says, if you're to bring your lamb as a sin sacrifice and you can't afford a lamb, you can bring 2 turtle doves. Turtle doves would be much cheaper, much easier to get. And it's significant to me because it says that God takes into account our status in life. God takes into account what we have and what we don't have. And he doesn't demand of all of us the same thing in the sense of each pays the same price of a sacrifice in this example. But rather, God recognizes that those who have plenty need to give more. Those who have less need to give of what they've got. Jesus reflected this same attitude when he was watching the Jews come into the temple and giving their money, and this poor widow woman who has only 2 small little pennies, for the lack of a better equivalency, and drops them in, and Jesus says, hey, she gave more than everybody else because she gave out of her poverty. So as I think about this today, my reflection is one of, what am I bringing to God out of what he's given to me? To whom much is given, much is expected. I hope that you and I will address ourselves today knowing that God doesn't expect us to be the richest or the wealthiest or the most well-to-do. God expects us to take who we are and what we have and use it for his service. Whatever our station in life, we're called to be where we are, serving the God who is there. Think about it, weigh it, consider it, because I've made it your video thought for today.